Hey everyone, John Henry here, slingshotfutures.com, and welcome to the Daily Market Mindset, where we take a look at the psychology behind the moves today so we can better understand tomorrow. And today, we have gold on our list. Now, gold overall, we've really taken a turn out of what we've been doing. If we zoom out a little bit, we can see we've been stuck in this range since the 25th and really just have not been able to get out of it. The high of the range, pretty obvious across the top, lows of the range, pretty obvious across the bottom, and we just kind of got stuck. We couldn't really get out of this funk. So what we always do with ranges, we're looking to buy low, sell high, stay out of the middle as much as possible. And we ended the month, right, today being the first day of the month, we ended the month in that range. And when we open up this month, we start off with a gap down towards the lows of that range. It wasn't quite there yet. We needed a little bit more to go to the downside before that range low was tested. The buyers tried taking it out the gate, and we had a very strong start, right? Relatively weak first candle of the day, but then 1, 2, 3, 4 back-to-back really strong bull bars closing near their highs shows you that the buyers are probably going to give it a shot, right? Now, when we get that first little pullback there, we try going higher and it fails. And that's the big clue, because when we zoom in here, we can see that this was nothing more than a twin reversal. Let me try to draw this a little bit lower. Its thickness is really high. They tried closing outside of it, immediately failed right back in, and given the range sentiment, trying to get back down to physically test the lows of the range gave you a clue that sellers may be coming in here, and the buyers may be stepping aside for a little bit before they start jumping on in for a move down. So a nice little move lower there to finish off that drive lower. We finally got the test of the range lows, and then we start seeing some faltering. Now, I'm not a big fan of being the first one to the party here, because this was a very strong bear leg down. There's a good chance that sellers may try coming in here, and arguably, that's not necessarily a bad thing to try. So if the sellers did come in here, there are a couple clues that really stood out. First of all, unlike this one, which immediately went straight bull right back up towards the scalp target, this one had a nice bull into a very weak bear response. Notice how there wasn't really much there. That candle was pretty much non-existent. Might as well have been a doji. And then it followed through with another terrible looking candle, and it's starting to form a little bit of a floor down here. They just can't seem to get out of that floor area. And that's a big clue that sellers may be losing a little bit of steam. Now, the buyers haven't shown up yet, so it's really tough to become a buyer when you have pretty much a doji, a strong breakout move, and then a doji, right? So it's not a situation that you really want to jump in on yet, and we need to wait for the sellers to kind of get out of the way. And unfortunately, that means that you have to wait for quite a while. Now, the range highs are way up here, range lows we're still cycling off of, and the sellers finally completely fail, massive bear candle lower, and they turn around into a big bull breakout move. And that is the signal, finally. A little bit late to the party, but better late than never. When it comes to trading, at least, I would rather be late than early. And that led into a beautiful breakout to the upside to finish off the gap fill of the month and the week all in the same place before we started pushing back up. Now, this one's a little bit interesting, and I have this one marked because it's another one of those situations that I can't necessarily disagree with, and I like it, and it worked for a scalp, but there are a couple things that I want to talk about. Now, I know a lot of traders probably took this one, and, if they did, it worked out for a scalp, but if they went for anything more than that, it would have had a little bit of trouble. Now, this really goes back to the overall range high. The range high, very obvious cutting across the top here. And this previous month level, which, again, today's the first day of the month, so this is last month's level in April, all kind of creating a top of this, right? They're not letting the market get through that. And when we come back to that area high, when we zoom in again, we can see that, well, they tried breaking out of the highs of it, and it's a very strong rally higher, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 back-to-back really strong candles. And just like you see here, 4 back-to-back strong candles, 4 back-to-back strong candles. You're probably going to get a pullback and a snap higher because that's what's happened 2 times earlier just today, let alone any other days. So it's likely that buyers will take this as a scalp, buying the close of that bear candle, looking for a quick new high. Now, I'm not a big fan of it because of location. It wouldn't bother me if someone sent me a screenshot and said, hey, I took this trade, what do you think? Well, it's okay, right? But it's a little bit aggressive because of location. You're at the top of a range, and a lot of traders are going to be thinking, well, I should be shorting here, right? So it did work out for a scalp, and I wanted to mention it because, again, it was okay. It could have been better, but it was okay. We go back up, we retest the highs of that range, and it completely falls apart. Now again, I'm not a big fan of being the first one to the party. I want to see extra proof. The sellers get continuation, that's a good thing. Buyers try coming in, super weak. Look how weak this candle is. That's what you want to see for the buyers giving up especially when they follow it with a candle that looks like this. That is a big clue that the buyers are now giving up. They're getting out of the way, and they're allowing the sellers to come back in, just like what happened here, just like what happened back over here, just like what happened here. They're getting out of the way, and you're expecting it to go to the other side of the range. So a beautiful shorting opportunity to drive the market back down to the lows. Now, this is where things get a little bit choppy sloppy. We come down to the lows of the range again. Remember, the lows of the range are right down here. They miss the lows of the range by just a little bit, try turning higher, and fail back down. Now, the reason I like the short here, first of all, we have another big bear channel down, just like we had a big bull channel up, just like we had a bear channel down. We have a lot of strength, and there's a good anticipation that it's going to continue lower, especially since we haven't yet hit the lows of the range. You're expecting at least a little bit more. It may only end up being a scalp for a couple ticks. It may end up being a big move, right? We don't know until it actually happens. And in this case, it ended up breaking down and slamming lower. So a nice selling opportunity here, albeit a little bit aggressive. This is one of those times where, again, ranges break out 20% of the time. And this is one of those 20% of the time. It slammed lower and just never looked back. Just a phenomenal drive lower into the end of the day to wrap up the morning on gold. So just a beautiful day of price action. And again, it's a range, right? Very counterintuitive almost. For newer traders, especially when you're trading a range, when you see this kind of move, you want to be a seller and go with it, right? Look at the strength there. I want this to keep going. But you're at the lows of a range. That is the worst place to be doing that. So you kind of got to switch gears in your head a little bit when you're talking about ranges and how you approach them. And if you do, and if you did today, you did pretty well. So that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you found it interesting, maybe a little bit entertaining, and we'll see you next time.